All right, how did you go with day 2? A little bit more difficult. How's your fingers holding up? Pretty sure that they'd be doing pretty well right now. And if they're not, it's okay. Like I said, they will get better. Now we're moving on to day 3. This is hump day. I'm not going to lie to you, this day is quite challenging. So our practice plan will change pretty significantly today until we start getting back into what I would like to call less challenging or easier chords, as it were. So today is a bit of a bummer. Now everyone has had difficulty with these 3 chords when they're starting out. Just want you to know that because you are not alone. If you think that when you look at these chords you go, what? Or you've tried them just before looking at this module, don't stress on it. Everyone, myself included, everyone doesn't enjoy these chords as they're starting out. Not saying that they are the worst things in the world. There are far worse chords than these, but when you're starting out, what sort of word is that? As you're starting out, they can be a little bit difficult. If you're just looking at the chord and going, oh, what the heck, how am I meant to play that? Don't worry, I'm here, I'm going to help you out. So we're going to start off with C7. It looks like this. It looks pretty complicated, but it's just a C chord with 1 extra finger added. So as we know our C chord, I won't go through the fingers on that, but all we're adding is a little pinky on the 3rd fret of the G string. So that's a C. Sounds a little bit sad and kind of like, oh. Like I said, 7th chords add tension. They're kind of cool. So, just adding your pinky onto that 3rd fret of the G string. Cool? Right, C 7th chord. Now the issue with C 7th chord is when you're moving around and you're transitioning between, say, G to go to C 7th, you've really got to, I even still to this day have to think about, oh, I've got to C, but I've got to put that on there as quickly as possible. I know how to get to the C straight away, but getting that pinky in there, you've got to work him up to do what you want him to do. That's why that one's just a little bit of a challenging chord, bit of a bomber. So C 7th. Now again, as we're running through, look for where your weaknesses are and try and improve on them. Cool? Day 3. Such fun. So we've got our C. And with the C7, all we're adding is the little pinky finger there on the 3rd fret of the G. So C, and then throw him down there. Now the reason that this one is a little bit more complicated and confusing than the others, and I've put this in the 3rd day, which I have purposely made a little bit more difficult, is only due to the fact that when you transition between chords, it's a little harder. So even with the G up to the C7, you just have to remember to put that pinky finger in there. It is a very simple chord to play because it is just adding an extra 1 finger on the fretboard, but like I said, it's the transitions between doing that, because I always forget to throw that little pinky in. It's sort of like it's the last thing I do, the very last thing I do just before I strum the chord. So yeah, it is not a difficult chord, it's just the transitions and just remembering to put it in there. Luckily though, in a lot of the pop and rock songs that we play, C7 isn't used all so much. In folk songs, it's used a whole lot more because it adds that cool little tension to it. So don't fret over this. Fret, see, pun intended, right? It is just adding that extra finger in there, but just getting used to those transitions. If you follow the practice plan, you'll get it in no time, no sweat. Moving forward to an F chord. Now, universally, this is one of the more problematic chords for a beginner, and I'll show you how to get around that. So this is an F chord. Not everyone's friend, but you'll get through this. Trust me, I'm here with you. So an F chord, righto, let's crack on. So we've got our 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the G, of the D. Oh, idiot. 3rd finger of the 3rd fret of the D, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the G, and this is where it gets a little bit more funky. We've got our 1st finger taking up 2 strings on both the 1st fret of the B and the E string. I want you to notice a couple of things. My elbow's nice and close to my chest, right in on my body. the neck's up a little bit, and I've pulled my hand in. Instead of it being out nice and relaxed, I've pulled it in so I can get more leverage into the fretboard and get my fingers in a more comfortable position. You'll also notice that they're all sort of pushed off to a diagonal off to the side as opposed to the fingertips. Now I'm still using my fingertips and I'm doing my best to keep as much of that finger off the string as possible so that this little first finger here can get as much grip in on those two strings right there. So taking away a little step back, it's kind of like a C chord, but it's moved down and you've got these two strings. So elbow in, thumb is more up towards the headstock than it is at the back, and basically I've got my palm resting right up on the neck. Take it slow, take it easy, take your time with this one, right? Get a nice good grip, good technique, get in there, try and get all those strings sounding clean and clear as you can. Right, F. What can I say about the F? F chord, right. So, yeah. A few little tips on this one is when you put your third finger on the third fret and your second finger on the second fret, you've got your first finger here. Don't try and have your elbow out. Bring it in. Bring it in and nice and hug it. Like, try and, even if you want to put your palm up against the fretboard when you're beginning this, just to really like nail it, get it in there, because you need to have the leverage on this one. And you'll hear a lot of people say that they prefer to play the F as a bar chord because it just feels easier to them. I'm one of those people. I like the sound of the bar chord F as opposed to this. It sounds fuller, but we have to learn these foundations so as we can move forward and get the more advanced techniques as your fingers will begin to get more strong, and your leverage and the way that you move your thumb around the fret and the neck, the way you move your thumb around the back of the neck is imperative to getting bar chords right, and also if you want to start playing solos, having your thumb in the right place so that you're getting the right leverage is very important. So with the thumb, I'm almost sort of pointing it up towards the headstock there and pushing my palm in. And that's an easy way to get started on the F chord. Again, this is all about leverages and doing the transitions between it. So the F isn't an overly complicated, again, like the C7, it's getting those transitions right, especially as you're starting out. So take your time with it, be patient, you will get there. Keep up with the practice plan at the end of the video, and also read the practice plan PDF, and explains a little more on how you can get those transitions a bit easier. Good luck. Right, B7 chord. This is my own personal favorite chord to hate, but as I'm always up for a challenge, I had to master it. And it's a good technical chord to master, because as soon as you get this one, this is the third, I believe, the third hardest of the first position chords to get, if not the hardest. People will argue that the F is the hardest. For me, the B7 was always a problem as I was getting through learning and getting to know these chords as well as I can. It kind of, I guess because it feels like there's a lot going on. Now, if you think about the C7th chord, you're using the same amount of fingers, but it's kind of just shifted around a little. But each their own. I'd always still, to this day, if I've got a B7, I have to look at where I'm going. There's no shame in that, right? So please, again, take this one nice and easy. This is what it does look like. Again, it looks like there's a lot happening. So what we're going to do is, we've had our fingers right up in, and our hand right up on the fretboard. Now we're shifting it back again and putting it back into a more traditional position with our thumb at the back, and using the tips of our fingers again with our second finger on the second fret of the A string, our first finger on the first fret of the D string, our third finger on the second fret of the G string, and finally our fourth finger on the second fret of the high E string. Tension abounds. Like I said, this is kind of complicated one, feels weird. If you get this in the first go, wow, you're doing way better than I ever did. B7. So we've gone from C7 to the F, and you'll see the wrists move in to back to the B7, where now this is a different one altogether, where my wrist pretty well goes all the way out. So we're putting our second finger on the second fret of the A, our first finger on the first fret of the D, and our third finger on the second fret of the G. But as I put my pinky finger, notice the way that my wrist comes out there. And that's because I need to get that leverage in to really get my fingertips on top of that. And this is the reason why I've always struggled with this chord, is because it's so vastly different from a lot of these ones where your thumb and everything else is almost staying in the same spot. And then you got to get all the way out there. It's like, what? Why am I got to push out? So I'm pushing my wrist out, I'm pushing my thumb, sort of, it's more on an angle towards my face here, just to get that pinky finger in there. And that's the trick to this one, is to get your wrist in the right spot. So if you like weathercocking, like a rooster on top of a barn, it swings around wherever the wind goes. Just your wrist is following your thumb. So if your thumb is the wind, your wrist is the weathercock, and it moves around with it. Don't be afraid if you're not happy with that and you want to bring your wrist in like this or however. Try it each way. This way works for me the best. Is just pushing my wrist out, getting those fingertips in there, and really nailing that chord. Have fun with the transitions. Take your time with this one today. You'll get there. Promise you. I'm going to just go back a little bit and remind you that these are some rather difficult first position chords. Now I've put them here for a reason. I want you to know that you have got 6 chords under your belt. You're about to add 9. These are only 3. These ones are the hardest ones out of the lot. Everybody has found some type of struggle with these chords at some stage. Even I still find trouble with the B7th chord. But these are great to know. So that means that we're changing up our practice plan today. Instead of going through, as we've done before, our 2 strings and we're going up, going up, going up, if you want to do that, that'd be great. Just keep that in mind, that's always a good thing to start off with when you practice, is getting to know your fretboard. What we're doing is we're slowing this down. So frustration may be setting in right now, but you need to own that frustration and overcome it. You're making so much more progress than you actually think that you are. If you get to this point, you're just ready to throw the guitar on the ground and walk away from it forever, I encourage you, I urge you, please don't do that. Things will get better, trust me. But with these 3 chords today, for about 30 to 45 minutes, I want you to focus only on these 3 chords. Now in the last, say, if you're going to do an hour and a half, in the last 45 minutes to half an hour of what you're going to practice, then go back to the first day 1 and 2. But for today, I want you really just to focus on these 3 chords. And like I said with the transitions, do your best, but this time slow down your strumming. And focus on where you're going to put your hands, your fingers. Now, what you'll see with the C7th to the F, you're really only just moving a whole bunch down and pulling your hand in. You're basically hugging the neck. Cool? Take some time with this one. Now instead of transitioning from the F to the B7th to start off with, I want you to go backwards and forwards between the C7th and the F until you're fully comfortable with that. It's okay to make mistakes, trust, just if you keep doing that, that's okay. You know what you need to work on then. Right, when you're comfortable enough with those transitions, then move into the B7. Take your time with it. Try and transition between B7 and F. B7 and F. When you get a little bit more comfortable with that, B7 to C7. See what I mean? Even I am still having issues with getting these ones perfect every time. That's okay. These ones are, especially the B7 and the C7, you don't see them a lot in a lot of the songs that you will learn how to play. They are fantastic to know. It's good to have them in the back pocket as a tool. That's why our progress is sort of slightly shifted as far as our practice goes. So please, take your time, go through each, pluck each string, and go through, as I've said, with that practice plan. I'm not going to mix this up anymore. That's as much as we need to do. Good luck. You don't need it. You're doing well. Again, as I said, if you get frustrated with this one, that's totally fine. Please just wear it, own it. Things will get better. Things will get better before they get worse. I can guarantee it. Okay, I believe in you, and you're doing well. You're halfway through day 5, or the day 3 of the 5. Well, you're halfway through the days. Spit it out. But you will. You'll get this. I can guarantee that you'll get this. Good luck. You're doing well. Truly you are. You're making great progress. And tomorrow, or day 4, whenever we get into that, or whenever you get into that one, you will see the progress that you're making, and it will make a whole lot of sense. Have fun. Catch you next day on day 4.